Greetings and a warm welcome to our Microsoft Excel training program. It's our pleasure to guide you through the intricacies of Excel, and we trust you'll find the experience both enriching and enjoyable. This course offers a comprehensive guide on optimizing your spreadsheets for peak performance. You'll discover the essentials of constructing automated spreadsheets, an indispensable skill for Excel users. Gain proficiency in fundamental calculations and functions. Visualize your data effectively by mastering the creation of column, line, and pie charts. Additionally, you'll learn to interconnect various sheets and secure your valuable data with password protection.
Hi guys, welcome to this Introduction to Microsoft Excel course. What I want to do first of all is go through the Excel interface and show you some of the basic concepts of Microsoft Excel. So what you're looking at the moment on this screen is what's called a spreadsheet, and in Excel you can have many sheets. These tabs across the bottom are all different sheet tabs, and you can see some have just got sheet numbers on, others have got names on, like those ones, and this one where it says getting started. So there are many sheets. The sheet numbers is limited only by the size of the computer, the memory. Now within each sheet you have lots of cells. So these rectangles are called cells, and wherever I click on this sheet, this top left hand box tells you where you are. So at the moment I'm in column F, row 6. So if I just do that little intersection for you, column F, row 6, that's where I was. So if I change the color there to something else, you can see. So wherever you click, that's where you are. J8, C3, J3, and so on and so on. Now each column, if I click on a column, so I've clicked on the letter, is named by a letter. Starts off simply with A, B, C, D, and so on all the way to the end of the alphabet. But if I scroll a bit further across, you can see it starts doubling up A, B, A, C, and so on and so on. Now, if you was going to use a column per day all the way along, so if I went 1, 2, and try to count all the way along, you'd find that there is a huge number of columns, over 16,000 columns. Now if I just show you a little trick, if I go to this little fill button over here and click on series, it'll tell you exactly how many there are altogether. So if I say a step value of 1 and then go to the end, so what I'll do is highlight that row and then go fill, series, step value of 1 and no stop value. And then if I get myself to the end, so I can get to the end of this document, you'll see how many cells there are. So I've got myself to the end there, so there's 16,384 columns. Huge amount. So I just did undo there, which is the same as clicking this little button, but I use the key command, and if you point to that button there, it actually tells you what the key command is, Control Z. I'm just going to delete all those cells. Now talking about delete, if I type my name in a cell, now if I type under the word underneath, so there's a list, I might want to delete that list. In Word, I could press the backspace key, but in Excel, if I press the backspace key, it just deletes the first one. So if you want to delete a list in Excel, you need to highlight them both and press the delete key. That will do that for you. Now, if I type my name again in that cell, so let's say I want that to be bold, I can click on B for bold, I for italic, and U for underline. But that, unlike Word, that is just that cell that has that on. If I click into a different cell, they're not on. If I type Steve again, they're not on. If I highlight a chunk of cells, and let's colour them in, this little paint pot tool allows you to colour them in, and this little tool next to it allows you to put borders on, so you've got no border, which it's on at the moment, but I'll put all borders on, so it gives you a little grid. So in this area, if I want that to be bold, and the font color, which is this one, if I change that to blue, just for these shaded areas, yellow areas with the grid lines on, it's going to be bold and blue. Bold and blue. So if I type in anywhere in there, so if I type Steve in there, there it is, bold and blue. Type John, bold and blue. Now if I wanted to put, let's try church. Let's say I want to put church is, ES on the end of that. If I just type ES, it deletes whatever was in there. So if I undo that with Control Z, what you have to do is one of two things. You can either click up at the top here where it says formula bar and type ES, and then either click this little tick or press enter, either way, that fixes it. Or if I just undo that, I can double click at the end of that and get into the cell itself and type ES. So either way you can fix that. So these are called cells, these rectangles, and as I've already said, that's where you are, D10 in this case. So to edit anything, what you don't want to be doing is just start typing, because it overtypes what's in there. Now only the yellow area is blue and bold. If I type there, it's normal, back to normal. Now in terms of different styles and formats, on this bar across the top, which is called the ribbon, you have some formatting options. Here's some of the more common ones. So if I type 10 in there, I can click on this little pile of coins and that will make it into pounds. If I want that to be dollars or euros, I can click on the relevant one. If I don't want any of those, I can go into this option, more accounting formats, where you have almost every country in the world, except one or two countries I know are not in there, but there are some really strange ones like Welsh English and Scottish English pounds, which is the same as an English pound, believe it or not. But I can go in there and change it to whatever country currency I need. If I want that to be a percent, if I type 10 and then just click away, notice I'm clicking away and then clicking back on top of it to do the format. That's what that does, is just it uses it multiplies the figure in the cell by 100. So if I wanted that just to be 10%, what I should really do is click in the blank cell, click the percent button, and then when I type 10, it will be a percent. And same way, if I click on that button now and type 10, it will be in pounds, because that's what I told it to be. And if I want more decimal places, I can click on this button or this one to decrease decimal places. And if the format that you want is not available on this little short list on the ribbon, you can go into this list and select maybe a format there, or if they're not there, go to where it says more number formats and you come back into this box where you've got some other options, date, time, etc., and you can customize things like this. Now quite often I get asked stuff about dates, so I'm going to do a date. Now the quickest way, well, I'll type a date first of all, 21/08/1957. That's my birthday. Now that is a standard format for a date, but sometimes people want that to be 21-org-57. That's another date format, but it's still a date. It's still a date format, but it is not that format, and it's not that format. But if I click it on there, I can change that. Now if you want this to be completely different to that, what you can do, if I go into this, obviously if you're an American, you will have a different date format coming from Windows. It will be the month first and then the day. But if I go into this option and go down into more number formats and then select custom, that is the format there it is at the moment. But I could do this. I was asked this a few weeks back. If I go 4 M's, then a slash, and then two D's, so that's going to give me that sort of format there. Still a date, but it's just laid out slightly different. And through this custom option, you can change quite a few of the default formats. It's quite complicated when you first look at this, but as you get more into Excel, it becomes fairly easy to edit It's mainly used on dates and other like scientific functions and stuff like that. Text you can use it with, and special you can use it with. We'll just cancel that. So that's formatting as dates. Now a key command to do today's date is the control key, hold that down and then press semicolon, and that'll give you today's date. If you want the date or today's time, you can do control and shift, hold those two buttons down on your keyboard, and then semicolon. That will be the time. Now if you don't know where the semicolon is on the keyboard, it is next to the letter to the right of the letter L. If you want the date and time, it is control semicolon space control shift semicolon, and that gives you the date and time. Now that is a date stamp, so that will not change. That will always be that date, and that will always be that date. If you want a date that's dynamic, i.e. moves, so tomorrow it will be the 14th, you need to use a formula to do that. And the formula for today's date is this: equals today, easy enough to remember, but then this bit is not as easy. You need to have an open and close bracket on the end of it like that. And then when you tick that formula, it looks the same, but that will change to the 14th tomorrow, and that is like a computer clock, so that will always move forward in time. Now I'm just going to highlight all of this and colour it yellow for a second, and then I'm going to press my delete key to delete all of that. Now when you delete things in Excel, it deletes the data, but what it doesn't do, it does not delete the format. As you can see there, it still says accounting, and that still says percentage, and over here it'll say date. Now if I type a number, let's say I want to type 123 in there, when I press enter on that, it's changed it to a date, the 2nd of May 1900. If I type 1 in that cell and press enter, it goes to the 1st of January 1900. Because as far as a computer is concerned, every date is just a number. So let me just try and explain that. If I go 1, 2, and then let me just highlight these two because you can pull these down. There's a list. If I put that list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to dates, to put it to date, it starts on the 1st of January 1900 because Excel started counting on the 1st of January 1900 and it added one on for every single day. So if I put today's date in there, so that's the date, that's the key command I just did. But if I change that back to general, so general is what all of these cells are to start off with. If I click on general, that's the number that it is for today, 44,056. That's how many it's counted from the 1st of January 1900. So when you do a date, if you delete that date and then type into it and it changes back to a date and you don't want a date, you have to go up to the top and put it back to general, and then it will be as you expect it to be. So in terms of this yellow area, what I should do is just highlight it and put it all back to general, and then anything I type number wise in here will just be a number and not a percentage and not money. Now this little table, if I want that to be back as general, as you can see there, it is on general still because I haven't changed the number format. So if I want that to be back like this, what I have to do is knock the colours off. So if I highlight it, I go to the little paint pot, take the fill off, the font's bold, so click the B for bold, and blue, take the blue off, go back, put it to automatic, and then it's got these grid lines on, so I need to take those off. Outside borders, no border, that gets rid of them, and I'll do the same with all of this. So highlight all of that. Now because I've just selected those options, they are in position, so if I click that, no border, if I click the paint pot, no colour, and if I click bold on and then off, text them off, underline on and then off. The reason I have to do that because it's already on, so I have to click it on for everywhere and then take it off, and then I on and I off, so everything's back to how it should be when you first open a sheet, just like that. Nothing's been formatted, nothing's been applied, it's on general, it's got the black font, and that's the default font there, Arial, which is quite an old one, and size 10. You can change the sizes, obviously, but you still need to see the information. One of the big mistakes a lot of people do in Excel is they use these zoom in, zoom out tools, and they try and work in Excel when it's as small as this, and it's almost impossible to see. I try and tell people, if you're only working on a small part of the Excel spreadsheet, zoom in so you can see what you're doing. And that's what this little plus and minus in the bottom right hand corner of the screen does. Now, so columns, we've talked about rows. There's over 16,000 rows. How many columns are there? In terms of columns, there is over 1.5 million columns, rows in a column. So this one sheet that we're looking at now, even though we're only looking at a very small area, is absolutely huge. And lots of people don't use Excel to its full potential. I'm just going to delete all of this and just get rid of that colour. They just use a very small part of it. Now, the newer versions of Excel have become as large as that, but prior to that, back to 2003's version, which is a long time ago now, you only had 256 columns. So what happened there was people used to create lots of different files and then link the files together, but now you don't need to do that. You can have almost all your information in one file and just go down. Only really big companies are going to go all the way to the bottom of a sheet, and remember, there's as many sheets as you might need. Now, to name these sheets, like I have done there, if I just double click on sheet 1, on this sheet 6, I'll call it Steve. You can just do that, overtype it, double click, and then overtype. And you can move these sheets around by just clicking and dragging with your mouse. I've got my mouse pressed down, and then I'm just moving them and positioning them wherever I want them to go. I'll just leave it there for now. Now, how to do basic sums and formulas is as simple as this. So let's do a weekly budget. So if I type MON, short for Monday, in that cell, I'll make mine a little bit bigger. Now what I want you to do is, on your sheets, just try and copy what I'm doing. So type MON, and then in the bottom right corner there, you can see there's a small black square. Now, as you sit your mouse down into the corner, you'll see that there is several different crosses. The small black cross is the one I want. But if I just quickly mention the white cross is what you use to select things, because you might want to make it bold. The big black cross, which you get on the outside edge, this one, is what you use to move something. Usually you do that by accident. And then the little black cross in the corner is what I want you to get, and then just click and hold and pull that over to column F, and you'll see that it will drop in the days of the week. You don't need to type the days of the week because Excel's already pre-programmed to do that for you. And if I'd have typed Monday, it would have gone Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Now, you have to be quite careful on this, because if you move your mouse into that bottom corner, you can have all three crosses in a very small space. That's why I said about having, if that's zoomed in like that, your mouse is almost as big as the rectangle. It's almost as big as the cell, so it's a lot more difficult to get the right symbol. So just come back up. So let's have a quick look. So I want you to do that, but let's have a quick look. You don't need to do this. I'm just going to show you that you can type in the month, and if you pull it down, it'll go down. If you type the full month, it will do the full month. And you can go across, you can go down, and if you can go up, and you can go back. Whichever way you pull that little black cross, it will do the list from that point. So Excel's quite intuitive. So if you type, for example, week 1, it would assume, if you pull it down, that you want to do that. If you type your name or any word with a number after it, it will assume that you want to do that. It knows things like if you type QTR1 and pull that one down, it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it keeps going round and round in circles. I'm just going to get rid of all of these. So a lot of people spend a lot of time at this level of Excel in typing out lots and lots of things. If you're typing out days or months or weeks and things like that, you want to be having a quick look at this video and making sure you're not doing that, because that is a real long way around of doing things. Now, the other thing you can do is you can add your own list. Now, let's say this is a category I want. Now I've added a list on in my Excel, a very short list there. Look, it's because it's going to start going round again. So I'll just stop it there at food. These are the categories that I want for my little weekly budget sheet. Now to add your own list, you do need to type it out first off, and then you need to do this. You need to go up to the File tab, down into Options, and then once you're in Options, Excel Options, you need to go onto the Advanced tab, and then right down the very bottom on the right hand side, just pull that bar down to the bottom. You want to be getting into this Edit Custom Lists. Click on that, and then you can see we've got this highlighted. I can just go Import, and it will already put it in there like that. And there's already a bigger list there as well. Because there's a duplicate list there, I should really delete one of these and not have the duplicate, but I'll just leave it like that at the moment. I'm not going to click OK because mine's already in there. But what you need to do, if I cancel that one off and cancel this off, you need to type out this list on your sheet, and then basically type out the same as what I'm going to type. So I'm typing total, and under this one I'm going to type total as well, total, and then this is what I want to look at: max, min and average. So we're going to look at doing some basic sums on this little table. So we're going to look at the total adding up, max, min and average, and we're going then to look at doing some basic sums. Now the title for this is going to be weekly budget, so type weekly budget in the top cell, A1, spell it right. Okay, so I've spelt that wrong. Remember, it looks like budget is in B1, but it's not, it's part of A1, it's just overlapped. Now if I just widen this column, you can see that it's still in A. If I bring it back, so to fix it, I can't click into B1, I need to click into A1, and then up there I can fix that by just getting rid of the mistake and typing it out again. And then now I've corrected it, I'm clicking that tick, or I can press enter. So now it's fixed. So that is a title. Now I want that title to go across the top of this table, and what I need to do there is not try and move it, but use this little feature called merge and center. So I'm going to merge that and center it into one cell. So you see that? It's all merged and centered. Now once you've done that, I want you to highlight it like this. So just drag down straight from weekly budget with the white cross, because I want to put all borders on, and I want to colour some of it yellow. So first of all borders lives here in this little drop down, all borders. So that's put the grid on for me. And then I want to colour some of this in, but not all of it. So I want you to highlight from B3 across down to F7. So this little block. Now when you highlight, the first cell doesn't look like it's been highlighted, but it has, it's sort of see-through. Now next to the borders you've got this little paint pot. I want to drop that down and click on yellow, so I'll make that yellow, and again it looks like it's not done the yellow colour, but if I click on the screen you can see that that's yellow. I also want to make this cell yellow. I'll just click on that. So this is yellow. I'm going to use this cell as a starting point for doing basic sums, but before I can do basic sums we need to get some figures into this yellow area. So let's say we spend £10 every day on our car. You type 10 there, but you don't type 10, 10, 10 manually. You get this little black cross again in the corner, and you pull that across to Friday, and you'll notice it just copies that across. 10, 10, 10, 10. Now for gas, let's say we spend £5 on Monday, and it goes up by £5 every day. So I want you to type 5 and then 10. And this time I want you to highlight those two, get your small little black cross in the corner and pull it over to Friday, and you'll notice that the computer picks that gap up of 5 and increases it by 5 to the end there, 25 on Friday. So if you do that again for water, let's say £1 for Monday and £7 for Tuesday, and it goes up by 6, so you'd highlight the two, you get your little black cross and you pull that over, and it's got the step value there. Now let's say everything else is 10, so if I just go 10 for tax I can pull that down to highlight these two and then let go. I've let go, but I haven't clicked anywhere. Just get the little black cross on the pair of these and pull them across as a group, and you'll see it puts everything in place for you. So you've got lots of 10s. Now if you're struggling with the little black cross, I suggest you make your screen a little bit bigger so you can see it more clearly. You do sometimes have to, if this is the first time you've ever used Excel, you do sometimes have to play around getting the right cross there, and it's a bit fiddly when you first do it, but it's such a time saver as you get more into Excel. Now all of these yellow cells, I want you to highlight them with the white cross. So sit in the middle of the cell when you're highlighting, come across and down, highlight all that area. All of these figures need to be in pounds. So the quick way to put pounds on, as I've already mentioned, is to click this little pile of coins. It depends what version of Excel you've got, whether it looks like a pile of coins. It's getting worse as they change it, but it is a pile of coins. Click that and it will put pounds on. And if you're in the US, it will put dollars on. Or whatever country you're in, France, it'll put euros on. Now, so that's the figures. I'll click away into this yellow cell at the bottom. Now I want to do a basic sum. Now before I do a basic sum, I just need to point something out. I'm going to type in there a quick little bit of maths. So I'm going to type equals 2 plus 4 divided by 2. Now I'm asking everybody who's watching this video to think about the answer of that. What answer would you expect Excel to return there? Now in my experience, most people come back with the answer of 3, because they say to themselves 2 plus 4 is 6, divide the answer by 2 is 3. That is correct in the way you're doing it in your head, but what you're actually doing there is two separate sums. What Excel is going to do is going to apply the rule of maths, and it's going to apply the mnemonic BODMAS. You may have heard of that before. So basically it's going to look at that sum and say, are there any brackets on that sum? No, there isn't. Is there any division on that sum? Yes, there is. So I have to do that first. So the order of maths is brackets, division, multiplication, plus and minus, going left to right. So looking at this, there is no brackets, or there are no brackets. Okay, there is a division though, so I've got to do that 4 divided by 2 first. So it actually looks like 4 halves the way it's sitting there. So it's going to do that first. So this sum is then going to end up saying 2 plus 2. Now if I tick that, this will come back as a 4, which is correct. Now you learn this at age 9 and 10 at school. Well, in the UK you do. And then you usually forget that by the time you're 11 or 12. Now if you wanted this to say 3, you would have to go up there and put brackets around the 2 plus 4, because that would force that part of the sum to go first. If I just tick that, you now get 3. So when you see brackets, that bit goes first. Otherwise it's just going to apply BODMAS to the sum and do it in the correct order. And for people that have never heard of this or can't remember, have a look at your calculator on your phone. You've got two types of calculator. You've got the standard calculator and you've got the scientific calculator. If you did that sum on a standard calculator, it would come back with 3. If you did it on the scientific calculator, it would come back with 4. Now, kids at school have to buy scientific calculators for that reason, or one of the reasons. Why anybody would use a standard one, I don't know. Anyhow, I just needed to point that out. I'm just going to delete that now. That's called BODMAS. Now, if you're doing the course with me, in the manual it explains all that. Now, to do sums in Excel, this is how you do it. Every time you want to do a sum, if you're doing it, you're typing it, you need to start off with the equal sign. So let's use these two cells for our examples. So I want B3 plus, so I've done a plus sign, and then I'm clicking on C3. Now, what I need to be looking at now is this at the top, equals B3 plus C3. That's what I want. Now you can press enter, or I'd like to click the tick and it gives me the answer down the bottom there. So if I change any of these cells, so I'll change that one to 20. When I press enter on that, and this now says 30, because it is looking at whatever goes in B3 and it's adding that with whatever goes in C3 forever. So you don't go and put equals 10 plus 10. Because if that changed, as it has just changed, you'd have to go and change the formula. You don't want to be doing that. So this is how you do it with the cell references. It's called dynamic cell referencing. So that was a plus. Now if I do a minus, it's equals. I typed equals, it just overtyped what was there before. So then I'm going to click on B3 going to do minus C3, sorry. B3 minus C3. Check the formula, click the tick. I get £10, which is correct. 20 minus 10 is 10, correct. Next one, multiply, equals B3. Now the time sign is the asterisk. Some computers that I've got, some laptops, has actually got an X, Chinese keyboards with an X on it. It's very confusing for people. Even when you press the X, it still puts the asterisk up there. So that's what you're looking for. Don't put the X on the keyboard, it doesn't work. Click on C3, so B3 times C3, tick the formula, 200. And then the last one is divide, equals B3. Divide is the /, and again, some laptops have the actual divide symbol, but it still puts the / in. Then you click on C3, check the formula, click the tick, £2. So those are the 4 operators that most of us use, and that's how you do sums in Excel. Basic sums. Now, to add up this list, I might want to go equals B3 plus B4 plus B5 all the way down, and it would work. But there is a limit of how many pluses you can have in a formula. I think in this version it's 255, but don't quote me on that. It's not a lot, and as I've already said, there's 1.5 million rows, so you would be negating most of Excel if you started typing pluses or minuses all the way down. So to get around that issue, Excel's created functions, and the function that we use to add up a list is the AutoSum function, which is over on the right side of the ribbon there, the AutoSum. So I'm just going to click that, and when I do click that, it guesses that I want to add up B3 to B7. B3 to B7, so it's got the word sum in front of it, and it's picked everything up. So that's what I do want, so I can just tick that formula, and it gives me the answer 46. Now here's the good news. If I get a little black cross and pull that over to Friday, Excel's intuitive enough to know that if you have done a formula there that's looking up that column, if you pull it over, it's probably going to want you to add up that column, and so on and so on. So it has worked. So if I highlight all of these, down the bottom here, you've got like a quick ready reckoner. So it says 80, and that says 80, so that's correct. So that's worked it out. Let's do that again on the rows. So I want the row totals. So I get what I want the answer to be. So think of it like a piece of paper, and this was a printed table. Where would you write the answer? You would write there. When you're first into Excel, people are clicking all over the place. Clicking there, doing AutoSum, and it's picking up that, clicking a tick. Why have I got the answer there? Even if they do the right sum, they still do everything right, but they're in the wrong place. I don't want the answer there, and I want it there. So you get, if I just delete that one off, you click where you want the answer to appear. Clicking AutoSum, looking left, checking the right result, click the tick. That's correct, and then pull it down, and then that's a weekly spend, 300. Now that worked okay, but now I'm going to make it go wrong, because when it goes wrong, that's when people start panicking and struggle to fix it. Now if I just delete this one off, and if you're doing this with me, just delete that one off. Now I want to insert a blank row. Now a quick way to do that is to just sit your mouse on top of the number 5 in this example, click the right button, this little menu comes up, select insert with the left button. That gives you a blank row. Now if I get underneath that and I want to add this up, so let's pretend that this spreadsheet is 10,000 rows deep and I can't see the top or the bottom. So I'm at the bottom, I click AutoSum, but it only goes up to a gap. So if there's gaps, blank lines or blank rows in your data, it's only going to go up to the first blank row. So there's 2 ways of fixing this. You could go up to the top here and change that to B3, or if you can see it like we can, you can just re-highlight it with the white cross, keeping away from these little dotted lines. Sit in the middle like that. Some people will tell you to use these dotted lines and you can sit in the corner and pick this up with that little arrow. Yeah, you can, but when you're very basic, it's safer to just go down there like that. So that's correct, and I'll click the tick. Now if I delete that row, it just recalculates itself. So it's just going to say B3 to B7 again, which is correct. Now the next three are functions, max, min and average. So let's do those. These are the most common functions along with count after sum. So what's the maximum number in this list? What's the minimum number in this list? And what's the average number? So because of that, they live next to the auto sum button. There's a little down arrow, and then you've got the max function. Now when it grabs the list, it doesn't grab correctly. It grabs just B3 to B8, which is including the total. So I need to intervene, and I'm going to do that by selecting that bit, B3 to B7, tick. And then same with the min. Now this isn't the only way to do this, and you may get people telling you, oh, you could select it first and then do it. Yes, you can, but there's less likelihood of a mistake if you do it this way around, B3 to B7, because each time you are double checking that it's picking up the right list. And then the average, and then average, B3 to B7, tick. And then I can highlight all three of them and pull them over to the end. And that gives me the answer. So these formulas are looking at these figures. So if I change that figure to £200, most of those will recalculate. All of them will recalculate except for the minimum. So that's, I'll just do undo, Control Z to put that back. So that's the whole point of me shading that yellow. So that's the area where you are going to type your variable data. This area should not be typed on at all. And in a later session, I'll show you how to password protect this so you can't actually delete the formulas, because that is one of the biggest bugbears I get from people telling me that somebody's deleted the formulas and they don't know how to reset it. That wouldn't have happened if the person that set the spreadsheet would have password protected it like that. So it's right, what we're going to do now is we're going to do another example of this so you get another practice at doing a little spreadsheet. So get yourself into B14 and type week 1. Pull that across with a little black cross to week 5. So remember, Excel automatically assumes you want to do that. At the end of week 5, type total. Not over there. I must have hit my mouse pad there. Total. And then in cell A15, you type income, press enter, you type expense, press enter and type balance. So it's just a little spreadsheet. And then what we're going to do on this one is we're going to highlight all of this area. We're going to click on all borders. So we can just click on all borders because that's what's sitting there. We don't have to drop this list down and do it again because that's what's available already. And then I want to highlight this area and colour that yellow. And again, I just need to click the paint pot because it's already selected. Now we need to do a few little sums here. So if I get myself £10 and I spend £5, I want this to say I've got £5 left. So the formula is, you're typing it, so you need to do equals. Click on the cell. Now I'm clicking on the cells and I think it's the safest way to do that. But I could also type equals B15. But unless you're a touch typist, I think it's probably best for you to just click on the cell. So I've done a minus and then I'm clicking on the cell underneath, B16. That's what I want. Click the tick. It sits there with 0 because there's no data there at the moment, but we will put some data to test this in a second. If I pull that across to week 5, that's okay. And then the totals. Now watch what happens here. I want to add up this row, but when I click there to do the auto sum, it shoots up there to grab this list because it can't see any data. So no need to panic and no need to start deleting things out of this little box. What you do is you just ignore that and highlight what you want the computer to look at. So it says sum B15 to F15, which is correct. I tick that one and then I pull that down and that is correct. So now what I need to do is highlight all of this area and make all of this area into pounds. So this is back up to these little coins. Click on the pounds. And then we need to test that it works. So the way I did this top one is highly unlikely. Normally, you don't have the figures first. You have the formulas first. You set the spreadsheet. You set the spreadsheet up, and then you put the data in. So if I type 10 in there and then 5, it says 5. That's correct, and it says 5 at the end. So I know that works. Now the last one I'm going to do in this little phase is, if I come down to A20, if I'll scroll down a little bit, if I type Steve and then come across and type Anne, and let's do like an hours worked little spreadsheet. So if I type Monday, then remember we can pull the days down, so I'm getting a little black cross there and just pulling that down to Sunday this time, the whole week. Now Wednesday looks like it's overlapping, but as I said before, it's not. It's just there's not enough space. So what I need to do is widen the columns. So you can manually do that by dragging, or you can sit your mouse there and double click and it will do auto fit and fit it nicely in there. Now in terms of figures, if you get a column that's not big enough to show you the figures, you don't get it overlapping like Wednesday did. You get this, like hashes. So what you need to do there is just the same thing, double click, it'll do the auto fit. So underneath Sunday, let's type some more information. Totals, then we're going to have rate of pay, and then we're going to have gross pay, and then we're going to have net pay, and that's all we're going to have. Now what we need to do is we need to start in A20 and highlight the whole table. And again, we're putting the same structure on, grid lines, so it's just repetitive learning. The more you keep clicking this, the more you'll know where it is. And then I need to highlight just down to Sunday for these two people, and then click the yellow paint pot. So that's got it sorted out. Now, the total will be whatever goes in this yellow area for Steve and whatever goes in this yellow area for Anne. So to add up a list, best practice is to use the auto sum. Now watch what happens again. It's going to shoot up the screen because it can't see any figures in this area. So we need to overwrite that by just selecting the yellow area and then clicking the tick. That's correct. And then we can pull it over for Anne. And as we did on the table before, we should just test that. So we'll type 10 for Steve. That's going to work okay. Now if I say the rate of pay for these two people is $11.25 per hour, what I'm going to do is put Steve on 10, because then I can add it up in my head and can go on 11.25, and I'll put Steve on 11.25 when I've worked all this out. So I quite often do this, put things as 5s and 10s or 50s and 100s so I can work out the maths. So the gross pay for this person would be the total hours worked, which is 10, times the rate, which is 10. So 10 times 10 is 100. So if I don't get 100 in this cell, I've done something wrong. Formula has to start with equals. I click on the total cell, not that cell, because that's not picking up Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, etc. The total times, which is the asterisk symbol, the rate. So it says equals B28 times B29. Tick that. 100 is correct. I know it is. So then I pull that across for Anne. Anne is still 0 because she hasn't done any hours. Now if I said we're paying 30% tax on that, we can do this one. If I pay 30% on that, I should get £70. So the answer should be £70 after I do this little sum. Equals again. Click on that cell and then do times 0.7. Full stop and 7. 0.7 is 70% of something, 0.8, 80%, 0.9, 90%, and so on. If I tick that, that should say 70. And then if I pull that over, that'll work for Anne when we test it in a minute. Now these bottom 6 cells all need to be in pounds, so let's just go up to pounds. And then what I can now do is put the rate for Steve back to this. And I don't need to type it, I can just get the little black cross and pull it back over. And then that gives us the net pay for Steve at 78.75, which I wouldn't have worked out in my head if I'd been doing this without any test figures, or if I hadn't changed that to 10. So that's why I do that. Now this is ready to go. So if I start typing some hours in for Anne, you can see it works for Anne, and same for Steve. You just adding them up as it goes down to the bottom. So we would be doing decimal time. So 3 1/4 hours would be 3.25, and 3.5 would be 3.5 hours, and so on. That's how most people do it. Although you can add time up in Excel. It's just a little bit more involved. So that's the end of this little bit. So what I want you to do now is have a go at exercise 1, which is on this next sheet. So what you need to be doing is reading what it says in these text boxes and completing where you can what it says. So basically you're putting Jan in that cell and pulling it across, you're doing an auto sum in this cell and pulling it down, and then you're doing total, max, min and average and pulling them across. I don't want you to do the percent option, and then I'll carry on after that. So that I'll give you a bit of time to do that. Meanwhile, I will just pause this. Okay, this is what you should have done. So type in Jan in there, pulling that over to the end, puts the months in, and then doing a total there. Click on auto sum, it looks left, there's no gaps, so it picks it up. B5 to M5, I can click the tick and then pull that down just to there. Same on this side, do the auto sum, looks up, check the range, click the tick, pull it over, right over, so you've got a check figure there. And then we're doing the same things as we did before. So we want drop down, max. So you should be able to do this as many times as you need to do this if you've got this file. I didn't mean to pull that over straight away. I'll just wait this time. So this is going to be min. Let's pull that down, tick, and then do the average. Average, select the range, click the tick, highlight those two, and then pull them across. So that's the answers you should get. Now, if you haven't got the file, you can obviously type this out. You can see it on the video. You can just type it out and then just practice yourself in your own time. Now, the thing I didn't do or get you to do was the percent, because I just want to introduce a new feature, and it's what's going to crop up when we do the percent, and then I'll pick it up later on. So what I want to know is, what is 319 as a percentage of 4782 at the end? So this is the formula. Again, I'm typing it. So equals, clicking on B13, then divide by N13. So normally you would then do, in math, you would then do times 100. But what I want to do is tick that. I get a number less than 1. I'm going to select percent. It's 7% is correct, but I want it to show 2 decimal places. So I'm clicking increase decimal twice, 1, 2. And I get the answer of 6.67, which is correct. 319 is 6.67% of that total. But the issue is this. When I go to pull that across, I get this error message, div 0. Now, why is it coming up with div 0? If you click on this first div 0 and look at the formula, it says C13. Well, C13 is correct. That's a total for February. Divide by O13. O13, right, O13 is blank. And then if I look at this div 0, it's going to say D13, which is correct, and P13, which is also blank. So it's basically moving along. So the formula there is got one part of it in column B and one part of it in column N. So when I'm pulling it across, it's going column C, column O, column D, column P, and so on. It's maintaining the stagger. Now, the reason it's not doing that on these other formulas is because both elements in this formula are in the same column, cell B5 to B12. So you pull it across, it goes C5 to C12 and so on, D5 to D12. This is a staggered formula, so it's not in the same column. The long way of fixing this would be to manually type in each cell C13 divided by N13, D13 divided by N13 all the way along. It's only 12 months, so it wouldn't take long. But if it was 10,000 rows, that would take you quite a while, 4 hours, and you'd probably feel quite happy about that. But it should take you seconds. So what you have to do is basically tell the computer not to move this cell, not to move N13. So when I pull across, I want this to stay, not to move across column O, column P, column Q, stay there. Now the symbols that you use to lock a cell, and the technical term is to make it absolute, the symbols you use are dollar signs. Now you can type a dollar sign, so you need to get up on the formula bar in front of the N13 or anywhere in the N13 really, because I'm going to use a key command. If you wanted to type a dollar sign, you would have to get in front of the N to lock column N. But I want to press the F4 function key because that puts dollar signs around the N and in front of the N and in front of the 13. We only need them in front of the N, but it doesn't matter if you're not too sure, put them both on. Watch what happens now though. If I click the tick and then pick the little black cross, pull that over right to the end. Everyone stayed in place. The N13 stayed locked in position, so I could just pull it across. The only bit that's moving is the first part, so it's going to C to D and so on to E, F, all the way across. So you've told it to lock in place. Now if I do that again, coming down, I'll do it all together this time without stopping. So it's equals, what is that figure divided into that as a percentage. So I'll just tick that formula, make it into a percent, do the decimal places, and then if I pull it down without locking it, it will come up with a div 0. I don't want that, so I need to $sign the N13. So F4 on the N13 up there, tick, and now I should better pull that down and I get the right answer, like so. So that's a quick look at $signs. I will go into that in a bit more detail on a later example, but that's enough for now. Next sheet along says basic formatting. So we're back to formatting and have a quick look at this. Now what I want to focus on this one is just some of the other formattings that we haven't looked at. So the first one is annual expenditure. What I told you to do in the first example was to merge and center that across the top. But I don't want to do that on this one. What I want to do is what's called wrap text, which is just above that. So if I click on wrap text, it comes down like that. It wraps round in the cell. So you can have it, you could have a bit of narrative there describing something. You don't have to have a big long width of a column. So if I type like that, what happens is if I do the column width, double click, I end up having a huge column like that. But if I wrap text, you know, I can then just bring that text down like that. But I'll delete that because it's in the way. It's messed my little spreadsheet up, so I'll go back. So that's wrap text. What I also want to show you in this little bit is if I highlight all of these, I want to put these on their side at an angle. So to do that, I'm going up to this alignment bit and I'm selecting AB, and I'm picking the first option, angle counterclockwise, but you might see things like rotate text up. So showing my age, school registers used to be like that, where you'd have your name that way up and then just a 1 or a 0 whether you was in or absent. But this is quite useful for when you're trying to get something to fit on one page and it's just dropping onto another page. You can just change the angle of the titles. Now also we've done colouring in. We've been colouring in from this paint pot. We can do borders from here as well, and you've got line color. You can select line color, borders, and line style, thickness, and all this sort of stuff. But what I like to do is go into format cells to do a border. So what I'm going to do is going to put a big thick red border on this total row, and I'm going to do it by going into this more borders at the bottom. So when I go into more borders at the bottom, it's going to take me into format cells, but on the borders tab. I'll just close that off for a minute. If I click on the font arrow there, or the alignment arrow, or the number arrow, all of these take me into the same place, but on the relevant tab. Now I can also go across to format, and format cells takes me to the same place, or I can right click anywhere and go into format cells and it takes me back. So there's many different ways to come into format cells, and none of them are wrong. So I'm going to highlight this and I'm going to go into format cells via the borders option, so it takes me onto the correct tab. And what I want is a big thick line, and I want a red line. So that's it, but it's not on, so I need to apply it. So I want to apply it by clicking outline. Only when you see the border in this box is it going to be applied when you click OK. If you don't see anything there, it's not happening. You need to click away to see it. There you go. Now underneath that I want to put a shaded area, so if I highlight that, go back into, let's go a different way, let's go via alignment. It doesn't matter because I want to go onto the fill tab. So there you've got on the right hand side a pattern colour. So let's go blue, and if I pick a yellow, so the yellow colour with a blue pattern, and then a pattern style which will be that, which is horrible, but there you go. Click OK to that. So you're basically shading different areas of your spreadsheet, dividing tables maybe. So you wouldn't do that as a background for this because obviously you wouldn't be able to see it too well. Now you've got here 23rd, H2SO4 and 23 degrees. So H2SO4 is sulfuric acid for those who don't know. 23rd is the date and 23 degrees. How do you type these? So if I type 23rd, so if I type 23RD and if you type the same, in Word that would go up into what's called superscript, but in Excel it doesn't. You have to tell it. So what you need to do is basically on the formula bar, highlight the R and the D. That little box comes in the way, and then go into this little font arrow and you're going to tick superscript, and that'll put that up like you would expect to see it as a date. Now H2SO4, if you put caps lock on and type H2SO4 somewhere, what we need to do here is highlight the 2 and then the 4. You can't do them together, and these ones are going to be subscript, so that's down. Sub is down. Do that one for the 2 and then do the 4. Subscript down, like so. Now 23 degrees depends on how finicky your company is. So I used to just do a little O. I've got caps lock on there, so take a little O there and just put that into superscript. So font superscript, and there you get it up like that. But quite a few people, different companies, engineering companies and things like that, don't like that because it's not a proper degree symbol. So the other way of doing it is to insert the symbol from Excel. So I've typed in a blank cell 23, then I'm going to go insert symbols and then click on this one. Now because I've used this before, I've got the degree sign there, and I can just insert this. Now if you want to type on the Alt key, you can type 0176 and it will automatically drop you in if you've got a full keyboard. If you haven't got a full keyboard, you can't use that number. But otherwise you're going to have to do it like this. So click OK or insert and then close this box, and it puts it in like that. Now I don't know which one's best. To me that doesn't look right, but that is a proper symbol. That looks better, but it's totally up to your company. So if I try and do that Alt key command, so I'm holding the Alt key, and then on the key number pad I'm going 0176. When I let go, it puts it in, and when it does put it in, it looks slightly different to that. So I'm just going to see if this is a better way of doing it. So 23 Alt 0176. Now that looks like a proper degree symbol to me, and it's sitting in a better position than that, so that's just weird. But there you go. So I would remember that if you have to do that. And any symbol, like micron symbol, some of my clients use, learn what the Alt key number is for it, and then you can drop it in quite easily like that. Now I don't need to do that one because we've already done that up there. Merge cells, if I highlight this, merge cells, go back to home, merge cells, and then you can put the color in there. But if I go into format cells to get this sort of feature, I'll go in through the alignment tab and then fill. What you're doing here is fill effects, and then you've got all these different color schemes. If I pick something really gross like red and yellow from corner, like so. Okay, there you go. Now if I come across onto the right, this feature is a great little feature called Flash Fill, and this will allow you to pull information off a list. So what I've got there is a list of emails. What I want off the list is the first and second name. So I've given the top example, Steve Saxton, and then what I do is just highlight from my name, so from Steve Saxton all the way down, and then do the key command Control and E, and that will fill it down, which is quite quick. Now these are all from the same company, so that was quite easy to do. Obviously if they're different emails you might not get them all, but you're going to get a lot more than you would do if you just try to do it manually. Another example here, look, so I've got a gap of information there, but I want all this to be in the same cell. So I give an example, I type Steve Saxton sales, and then I select the list and I do Control E, and the computer picks it up, and obviously it's just left the sales bit off there. So that's called Flash Fill, and I think that's superb. If you've ever had to do that manually, it's a nightmare. and you used to have to do concatenation, a function called concatenation to do that, and it was a bit of a faff on. Now, if you want the reverse of this process, say you've got some information that's turned up in your spreadsheet that's all in one cell or all in one column like this, and you want to split that off into separate columns, you can do this. You select it, you go up to the Data tab, and then you're going to select this option, Text to Columns, and you're going to leave that on where it's on and go Next, and then tell the computer what separates your data. So it's not a tab, it's a space. We've got a space, and then it puts the column lines in for you, and then you don't need to go Next, you can just go Finish, and it separates them out. So that's good news, because otherwise you have to cut and paste and all sorts of stuff. So that's the end of that little bit of formatting. So what I want to quickly look at is quickly talk about cut and paste and copy and paste and saving. So if you need to copy something in Excel, let's say I want to copy this list, you highlight the list. You can either go to the Home tab and select copy, or you can do the key command. If I point to it, it'll tell you the key command, Control C, which I'm going to do, or you can right click, highlight something, and then right click on it, copy. Lots of different ways of doing it, but I'm going to do Control C. Control C in Excel, you'll get these little marching ants going around there, and then wherever you want to put that, so I want to put that there, and then paste it by clicking paste. There it goes. It's picking up that row because the rows is being made longer or wider, deeper by that being at an angle. So that's the list there. As long as that is around, I can paste that, and again, and again, and again. As soon as you type though, so if I type something, that will negate that copy feature, and then when I do paste, it's not there, there's nothing copied. So I'd have to highlight it again, copy. Got the dotted lines, then I can put it over there, over there. So I'm just doing Control V for paste, or I could click the button. So that's copy and paste. Now, to save this file, which I should have done when we was doing the first bit, it's just a case of going File, Save. It will ask you what you want to save it as. Mine's already called this, so I've just saved that. Now, if it was a new file, so if I just create a new file and just type something and then do File, Save, or Control S, it's asking me for a name. And then I can just select a location. So I'm going to select documents. I can find documents. Can't find documents. This PC, documents. And then I'll call it Steve. And then click OK or save. And then it's now called Steve. And then what I now need to do is, as I'm working away with this, I just need to click the floppy disk and save the changes. If I go to close this file, so if I go to close it, now I'm going to use a key command called Control W. Control W means close window, but it still asks me to save it. I've got the option to save the changes or don't save. I just cancel this off. If I click that cross, which a lot of people would do, sometimes you close Excel down, the program. If that's the last file open, you'll close the whole program down. And that might not be what you want to do. So Control W is a Windows key command, so it'll close Excel down, it'll close Word down, and then you can just click on Save or Don't Save. So I'll just go Don't Save, and then we come back to where we were. So that's what we've done is basic formulas, basic functions, and done a couple of spreadsheets, and then we've gone and you've done exercise 1. We've looked at dollar signs, we've done a bit of basic formatting and flash fill. Now what I want you to do is this little exercise, which has got a little trick in it. And basically what you've got to do is make this table look like that. So if you haven't got the file, you just basically need to type this out and then get it to look like that. It should take you about 5 minutes. So I shall do it, but I want you to do that. Pause this video and then just do that yourself and not copy what I'm doing. So if you have now completed that, I would show you how I would do it. So first off, that needs to be merged. and these three need to be put on their side. So that's the AB button, like so. Now you see what's happened there, that's gone big. And this is what you need to do. You need to highlight that row, right click, insert. So instead of, when we highlight, just cancel that for us. When we highlighted a row, when I showed you how to do this before, I went right click, insert. It just highlighted the whole row because I selected a whole row. I'll just do undo on that. If you right click and don't select a whole row, so we haven't selected anything, it doesn't know what you want to do. So it's asking you, do you want to insert cells down or to the right or entire row? You can still do it. So if you're going to do a whole row, it's quicker to just highlight the row. But if you want to do this, which I do, I don't want to do a whole row, I want to do this bit. I've highlighted that, right click, insert. So it's asking me, what do you want to do? Do you want to move cells down? Yes, I do. So I just made a space there. And then I'm going to do this. I'm going to highlight those two and merge them into one cell. So it gives me more space. Same with those two. You can't do it all together. You've got to do it bit by bit. And those two. And then what I should better do is double click on the line between the 3 and the 4. And it brings that back up. So I've not messed this table up by doing that. So in terms of colours, this needs to be black, white font, white, so it disappears for a second, and then black. And now this one needs to be pink background. I think it's that colour, pink. And so does all of this. Pink borders. Now it's gone to format cells because that's the last place I was. So what I need to do is drop that down and select all borders because that will be annoying. Now then, at the bottom we've got this white border which I need to put on. So if I highlight that, I need to go into format borders. So I could have left that where it was, more borders. I need the thick one, I need it to be white. So as soon as I click on white, everything disappears. But I do need it to be outline and inside. Outline, inside. And then OK. Then I get that on there like that. And then the last thing is to do this shaded area at the bottom, which hasn't got any colours on it. So I highlight that. I'll go to get to format cells. I want to be on the fill bit. No colour, just a pattern. And that's like a checkered pattern. Don't know which one it is. It doesn't really matter. They're all pretty gross. I'll go for that. Okay, and that is how you complete that. Alright, so that's the end of this module. What we're going to look at in the next module is how to use the Excel as a database. So we're going to look at doing sorting, filtering, using forms and print areas and things like that. But for now, that's the end of this session. I'll see you in a minute. In this section, we're going to look at how to use Excel as a database. So first off, we'll look at sorting a database, then we're looking at formatting it as a table, and then we'll look at filtering a database list. So first of all, how do you sort a table like this one on the screen? As you can see, this line is highlighted yellow, so that when I do this, you'll notice that it is not mixing it all up. So I'm not losing the age or mixing up the grade. Everything will stay together. A simple basic sort, for example, if I want to sort by gender, all I have to do is click anywhere in the gender column and then select A to Z or Z to A sort. Now you do have that option on the Home tab there, but what I like to do is I use the Data tab and then it's all in front of you there in the middle. So if I click A to Z, you can see that that just moves down, Z to A just moves back up. And then if I go into the grade column to A to Z, Z to A, so it's just doing one column at a time, leadership, A to Z, Z to A, and then if I do it on age, Z to A would be the oldest at the top, and then A to Z would be the youngest at the top. So that's a simple sort. What you don't do, or what you don't need to do, is highlight anything like this. If I go A to Z now, what comes up is this sort warning box, which basically says, do you want me to expand the selection? And then you click sort and then it works. But the problem with that is an extra step and you don't need to do that, so don't highlight anything. Now, if you wanted to sort by more than one column, what you have to do is go into this sort box. So let's click into there, and you can see the last sort that I did is sitting there. I'll just change that to name. I want you to change that to name. So I forgot to mention that the file you need to open is this filter and sort file, and then you can work with me. So if I change that to name, and then it's on cell values, but if I drop this list down, you can see that you've got other options in there: cell color, font color, conditional format and icon, and then A to Z, Z to A, and then custom list, which I'll show you on the next sheet. But for now, I want to leave this on A to Z, and then I want to do 5 levels, so 5 separate columns. Now we'll only look at the second column and the third column if the column above has got a duplicate entry in it. So I'll click add level, change the details. So let's go for gender, then all the rest of this can stay the same. Add level, grade, add level, course attended, and the last one is going to be age. That's what I want. We'll click OK to that. It's sorted it, and you can see on this at the bottom there's loads of Smiths. If I just colour mine in, then there were 4 female Smiths, so it went down to 4, 2 AAs, and they both did the same course. And then in this example, they have been separated on age like that. Now the good news is, if I type my name at the bottom, so you're adding a new record, you don't have to go through all that process again. What you need to do now, obviously that's not in the right place, is you go back to sort. All those options are still there. You just click OK, and then it'll put that one in the right place. And if I'd have filled all the data in, it would have pulled it all the way across. So that's how you do a sort. Okay, so moving on from basic sorting, let's have a look at sorting with a custom list. So just to recap, a custom list is when you can type a word and use a little black cross and pull it down, and it will put the list in there. So the default ones are the days of the week and things like that. So this is a list where you've got more than one Monday: Tuesday, Friday, Sunday, and this has been sorted by this custom list, this order. And the way that works is you go into the sort box again, and you select the custom list option through this button, and then that comes up like so. So if I just cancel that one off and then do it on this one, which hasn't been sorted, you can see what I mean. So don't want it on A to Z, I want it on custom list. It gives you all the custom lists. So I've got there Monday to Sunday, click OK, OK again. I never selected a column, column G, OK, and then it's put all the Mondays together, all the Tuesdays together, and so on. So that's quite a useful little sort tip. Now the next one across is format as a table. So this is a table that's very similar to this one, only this one's not been formatted as a table. So when you format something as a table, you automatically get the filter icons that appear on the top titles there, and the formatting is carried on. So if I add an extra column or something like that, or a row, it will pick up this. Whereas when we did that, it did not pick anything up, it just remained white. Watch what happens here. So format as a table is on the home tab, and format as table. So it comes up with all these different options. I'll pick this option. It's now picked up the range, but it's picked up the title. I don't want that title in there, so I'm going to have to overwrite that and just select from the column titles. That's the range I want. My table does have headers, so OK to that. And then you immediately get these little drop-down filters, which I'll go through in a minute. But the benefit of doing this is, if I add something at the bottom, it automatically colours all the way along. And if I add a new column, just call it test, it just colours straight down like so. So you maintain the structure of the table. If I just do that on this one, So this hasn't got a title across the top, so this should just be okay. So format as table, I'll pick the same one. It's picked it all up. Yes, I do have headers, okay. And then you get the filters. Now that's gone a strange colour. I don't know why that's picked that up like that, but who am I? Let's have a change of colour. Did I have that highlighted? I can't remember. I'm not sure why that's picked that up like that. It shouldn't have done. I do know why actually, because this has already got a colour on underneath. So if I take the colour off, so it has a paint pot colour. So if I go no fill and then drop this down and pick that again, it should have picked that up. I don't know why it's picked the black up. So I must have manually changed the font and everything on this. So I'll put it back to what it should be on white, and then that's it. So the reason all that happened is because the original table was manually colored like so. So I'd already changed everything, so from white to black and things like that. That's why I didn't immediately pick it up. But that's how you work formats table. Now, what are these drop down arrows all about? These are filters, and to use or show you how to do that, I'm going on to this next sheet, demo auto filter, and I will put them on manually. So this is not formatted as a table. So to put the filter on manually, you go to data, and this filter icon is what you need to click, and you get the same drop down arrows that you have on that format as a table. So what's the difference, you might say? Well, you know, I didn't get that's just picking up the basic formats from the table. Just undo that. So how does this work? It works like this. The phone goes and says, your boss says, how many people attended a leadership course? So you go to the course attended column, drop the arrow down, you take the tick off select all and tick the one you want, in this case leadership, and then click OK, and it drops it in like so. Down the bottom left it tells you there are 7 of 21 records that match that criteria, and at the top next to the funnel you've got a clear button. It's very important that you don't leave filters on. Clear, bring them back. You got the answer, you've answered the question, there were 7. Now the phone goes again and your boss wants to know how many females did equal ops training. So you go to gender, you take the tick off select all, you tick female, okay. So there were 9 females, but how many females did equal ops? So you go to course attended again, you take the select all off and you tick equal ops, and there were 2. You clear that one. So that's the basic filter. Different columns you can filter it, but you can also do date filters, number filters, and text filters, which is what I want to do right now. So let's do a number filter first of all. So what's the criteria I want? So anybody over 50 and under 60 I want in this list. So if I drop the arrow down, I've got loads of ticks there. I could go down all these ticks and take them off and put them back on, but that would take a long time, and this is only a small table. Let's imagine this table was 10,000 rows. How long would that take? So to avoid that, you go and use the number filters. Now the option I might want, it could be in this list, but I'm going to go down to the bottom, custom filter, and do it manually, because once you all of those options bring into this box anyhow, the words just change here. So I want greater than 50, and underneath and less than 60, and then OK to that, and there are 3 people. Clear that filter. Let's say I want to know everybody that's say this is a start date, started after the 17th or from the 17th, yeah, after the 17th but before the 27th. So if I go down there, date filters, so again you've got the ticks, but I'm going to date filters, and the option I want is in this list, so I'm going to select between. Now when you're working with dates, you have this little calendar icon at the end, date picker. So I'm in August and I need to get back to April. So from including the 17th to the 27th, including the 27th of April. So I've changed my mind. Including is equal to. Okay. And there are 11 of 21. And again, I'll go and clear that. And then last one, the text filter. If I want to know everybody in this list who's got an ID number that starts with CU and ends with XZ, drop the list down, avoid the ticks again, go for text filters, come across and down to custom. So I need to scroll down this list and select begins with. So if it begins with CU, it's not case sensitive, and ends with XZ. Now you may notice these icons at the bottom, so you can use a question mark to represent any single character or an asterisk. So I could have put equals to CU asterisk XZ and that would have worked as well. Click OK to that, and there are 2. Just clear that off. So that's the 3, that's the text filter, the number filter and the date filter. Now back to the normal filters on this example. So I've already got the filter on, so it's already clicked on. It says there everything that was checked by Mr. Brown. So check by Mr. Brown, I'll go to the check by, I take the tick off, select all and tick Mr. Brown. Okay, 20 out of 40. I select clear, and then it's everything that was unserviceable and was checked by Miss White. So if I go unserviceable, I'll just take that tick off. Unserviceable, it's quite a few, 23, but only the ones that was checked by Miss White. So I take that tick off, tick Miss White, click OK, 3. Clear the filter. And the last one is, in these items, how many rooms have a double bed? So again, tick off, and then just tick the item you want, double bed, and just room 1 and 2 has a double bed, and then you clear. So that's how a basic filter works. Now what I want you to have a go at doing, if you follow me with this example, is filtering this table as it says in this little text box. Now if you're following the video, just pause the video and have a go yourself, and in a few seconds I will go through it, how to do it myself. Okay, so first things we need to do is go to the data tab and put the filter on. So it says there, filter records to show everyone that attended equal ops. So that's course attended. Take the tick off, tick equal ops. Okay. It says there were 14 out of 20 out of 42. So I'm going to click into this box, just put 14 there so I can remember that. Click back into the table, clear the filter. So now we're looking all females that are grade AO. So we're going to sex, ticking male off, there's only 2 options, okay. And the grade, what's the grade? AO. Grade, tick off, AO, okay. So there are 6 people. Click back into the table to clear the filter. So number C says all records of grade A, O and AA over 25. So grade, so which one isn't there? We want AO and AA, so EO is not there, and over 25. So date filter here, greater than, so this might be in this list. It's not, so we'll go down to custom, select greater than, I'm in the wrong column, that's why it's not there. I need to be on age. Number filters, greater than, that's a mistake you make quite often, 25, okay, and the answer is 25 out of 42, so I'll put 25 in this box. And the next one, everybody that's got an ID starts with CU and ends with XZ, so that's number filters. Text filters, custom, So you want begins with from this list. You type in CU, and then you want ends with, and you are typing XZ, okay? And there are 2, so we're putting 2 at the end of that one. 2, and then click back into the table, clear the filter. All records, dates between today and 10 days time. So today is the 14th of August on mine, so date filters. So between, at the end there, date filter today and the 24th, okay, and that's 11 of 42. And put the number in there, 11, click away, filter all records, everybody over the age of 50. So clear this one, age column, greater than 50. So not equal to, greater than. And there are 10 people that are greater than that. So if I click at the end there and I type 10, and then the last thing to do is clear the filter, and then you've got the answers there, and you should have the same answers as me. Now moving on to the next one, demo advanced filter. One of the restrictions you've got for a basic filter is you can only ask, with the ranges, number of filters or date filters, 2 questions in the same column. But you can, if you set up a advanced filter, you can ask multiple questions. So this one is, how many people are male of these 3 grades? And that's slightly different in, we'll go back to advanced, and okay, if I delete this off, clear this off, go clear filter, brings everything back. Right, the only difference is you need to create a space at the top of your table with a line space. So if I'm going to ask 3 questions, 1, 2, 3, I need 4 lines. The one needs to be blank. So these tables do not need to be touching each other. So if I want to see everybody that's, let's just do the same. Well, let's do females. So I want females, 3. And the reason I've got to do it 3 times, if you didn't put females, and if I go EO, AO, and DO, if I didn't put female 3 times, it would just give me all of the AOs and all of the DOs. So you do have to make sure the line is stipulating what you actually want. And let's say, I don't know if there is any of these at all. So let's do this one first. If I go like that, you go to advanced. Now I've already set this up. So the list range is A6 to G27, so A6 to G27, that's this list, it's highlighted. The criteria area is this top list, which I showed you, basically this area, to G4, leaving a blank line. And then you can copy it to another location if you wanted it over there, or you just want it in place where it is now. Click OK, and it applies a filter. So there is 5 people, 5 females of those grades. Now if I say greater than 50 for all 3 of those grades, there may not be anybody, but there may also be some. So I've just changed the criteria, advanced, OK. There are 2 people that are over 50 that marry up to that criteria. And then you can just clear that, and then clear the filter as well if you want. It's just ready to go. So what I would do if I was going to be filtering information at this level in Excel, I would probably just have the normal filters on this bit and have the space there ready to go if I needed to do an advanced filter to get some extra information. But there are lots of other features available in Excel that will make your life a lot easier than doing this sort of basic stuff. But we're on the basic course at the minute, so that's why I'm showing you that one. Now the next one, I'm just going to go through this with you, how to set this up. So I need to insert 5 lines, is it? Let's insert, probably too many there. So to copy the title, I'm going to copy the title. I'm just highlighting it. Now I'm sitting my mouse with that large black cross to push this up to the top. Now before I let go of my mouse, I'm going to hold the control key down, and you see a little plus appears on the mouse. When I let go of my mouse, it copies it. Now I'm letting go of the control key. So I want 3 criteria, so I have got too many lines. I'll get rid of one. I want a supervisor. I need supervisor advantage there. I want those 3. And I'm pushing them up to there. Control key down, let go of the mouse. And then I've got an extra line there, so I need to get rid of that. Delete. And that's my space. Don't worry about the formatting, that's okay. So when I go advanced filter, now nothing's set up there. So my list range is picked that up actually, so that's okay. It's a criteria range, it hasn't picked up. So I need to tell it where to look. So it needs to look into that area. And then I leave it on filter in place and click OK. And then it just filters, it says there are 15 of 18 that marry up to this criteria. And then again, you can go salary greater than 30,000. If there is anybody, you just keep going filter in place and there isn't anybody. So let's put that down a bit then. Clear that filter. No, there isn't. I didn't look first before I did it. So let's do over 14,000, 13,000. Let's go for 13,000. Advanced. Oops. Advanced. So these are all over 13,000. So that's the advanced filter, but as with all filters, you need to clear that off. Now, if you've got a newer version of Excel, you might be able to use this filter function, which is similar to the advanced function in that it's dropping lots of information into a different place. You can filter into a different place, but it's still only looking at one criteria. And if you look at this formula here, it looks quite complicated, but let's just go through it and you can see how it works. So if I type equals filter, I need to open the bracket. It's asking me for an array. This is an array function. So the array basically is where's your data. There's my data. Comma. Then it wants to know which column I want to filter on. So if I go for grade, like so, and then that needs to equal this cell there. And then I close my bracket, click the tick, and it drops it in. And if I change that to AO, these both change because they're both looking at the same thing. So that's the filter function. You can only use this function if you've got the most up-to-date version of Excel. So let's just go back to the first sheet, database sort. Before I finish this session, I want to have a look at how to do printing and print preview and print ranges and lists. So if I want to print this off, I just need to go File, Print, or Control P would bring me to the same place, and I can see straight away I've got a problem here. But before I do anything, I just want to show you what I normally would set up on my printouts by going into Page Setup. What you've got on this front screen before I do that, you've got orientation options. So I will put that to landscape actually, and you can change the margins, but all of those features, or a lot of those features, are available in Page Setup. So I'm just going to go into Page Setup. This is where you can get things to maybe fit on one page. If I click OK to that, let's just brought that across a little bit, then go back in. I might leave that as that actually. Landscape, margins. Now you haven't got a great scope with margins. 2.5 centimeters, 1.9 centimeters, not great. But you have these 2 tick boxes on this page. I like to tick these. So that sits in the center like so. If I just click OK, that brings that into the center. Now headers and footers, I want to create a custom header. You have 3 sections. So the left section, I'll just type my name. The center section, I'm going to use some of these tools. I want the date and space and time. And then the right section, I want one of these features. So that's the file name and path. Don't want that, I just want the file name. And that'll do, OK to that. Then you see all that stuff across the top there. And you can do exactly the same for the footer. And you might want page of pages in the middle. OK, OK. And then you get the header and footer sitting like so. Now, I just need to go back to the page there and put this adjust to 100%. OK. Now this is sitting over 2 pages, so I need to delete some columns to get this to sit in the middle. Now if I go back to the file, it's all of this. So if I delete these, so now it's sitting on the left, but when I go back to print preview, it should be in the middle. Yes, it is. So it's in the middle of the sheet. So if I go back into page setup and carry on looking at the next sheet, the next tab, it's got print area and rows to repeat at the top, which are grayed out, which I'm going to go into this box, page setup, from a different angle. You can't actually do it through print preview. But just to show you, you've got these options, print grid lines, and which order you want the page numbers to be. If there's more than one page, you can adjust them there. But let me just cancel this off. Go back into the file. So what I want to do is go to page layout. You've got the same link to that same area sheet, but now they're all active. You can do things. So the first thing I want to do is I want to set this as the title page. So this is going to repeat on row 3 on every printed page. So this is it, print titles. It'll take me into the same box, and you need to select this option and then just go and click on the number of the row. So it's put 3 there with $signs on it, and then I can click OK. And then set print area is when you don't want to print the whole sheet. Okay, I need to select something. So I'm going to select not the titles on purpose, not the titles. Select print area. Set print area. So I just want that printing off. Now if I go into print preview again, even though I didn't select the titles, because I've told the computer to put the titles on every page, they're already on there. So this setup is how I have all my printouts. Header and footer on, not with my name, but header and footer on, and centered like so, and with the headers to repeat on every sheet. So if I go back, what you then do is you go to print area and clear print area, and maybe next time you have a different print area. Set print area, go to print preview, and there you've got a different list, but you've still got the headings. Like so. And then, as always, if you finish with that, clear print area, so you're back to normal. If I now do, I'm just going to do Control P because I'm fed up of clicking on there. It's quicker. Now you've got the whole thing, but you've still got the headers, and it's in the center of the page. If you need to change any headers or footers, you just go back into this, and you can see that you can change that. Or if you in this view, down the bottom right hand corner, you've got these 3 buttons. This one is page layout, because this will actually show you this document like a Word document, so you can actually see the headers and footers. And if I click into it, you get the header and footer tab appearing with all those features that we just looked at through page setup available to you. And then you've got the same in the footer features as well. Now to come out of this, you need to go back to the first option, like so. Now this option, which gives you the page breaks, so that's page 1, you can adjust this to be bigger or smaller, however you want it to be. So page 2 there, look, is coming down like so. I'll just undo that, I don't want to do that. But you wouldn't leave it on that, you would then come back into this. I mean, I do know that some people leave it on this view because they find it easier to work with, because you can see where the margins are and the headers are and everything. You can also see if there's graphs or charts going across page breaks, which is quite useful. And if that was the case, that's where this would come in. So what I might just try and do there is just see if I can show you how it would look. If I just select this table and copy it across. So I've moved that and I'm using my control key to copy. So now if I go into this bottom box, so I've got an option, I've got a problem here. It's dropped over a page break. So this is where I would select this option. And what I need to do is find the page break there, push that back that way and have a look. That one. Yeah. So I've sorted it out now. So that's the options of the page break view or page layout view or normal view, whichever you want. But this is the end of this particular section. What you need to do now is have a go at doing the practice exercises, and then we'll see you on the next one. Now you've completed the first part of the course, open this file called Part 1 Exercise and have a go at doing the two sheets that you can see on the screen at the moment. The first one, functions, and this one, what you have to do on this sheet is to use the sum function to add up this list, the average function, the max function to add up this list. Make sure you don't pick up the totals, so it's just this blue area. The count function is in the same place as all the other ones, count numbers, and then the percent is going to be what is this total as a percentage of the overall total on the right there. And then when you pull that across, you're going to get an error message, div 0. Remember what to do to fix div 0. If you can't remember what to do, go back to the original video, have a look, and then come back to this and have another go. The second sheet, formatting, is this. There's an image here that I want you to recreate on the spreadsheet. Starting in the green cell, B2, you're creating this table. So in B2, you would type name and color it yellow, and then put these labels in and type these dates and these figures. So the dates are formatted to dates. This is formatted to money. Don't type the total. Use the sum function to work the total out, and same on that one. This table again is dates, and then the temperature has insert symbol in the middle there for the degree sign. Put that in there. This table is all about formatting, but there is a total at the bottom that you need to use to add up the list using the auto sum. Newcastle has been emboldened, and then the days or the months are at an angle and the font is larger than the rest of the table. Once you've done that, you can move on to the next section. But at any stage where you can't remember how to do it, go back to the original video and just check it out. Once you've done that, close this file down, and the next video will tell you which file to open to follow on.